Welcome everybody to another episode of Cerebral Zone. We are here today with a special guest. You might know his page already. It's Out of Controls on Instagram. We also have Brett, founder of Loomis Automation and Schulman Engineering. So for the people that don't know you, because I think you don't really show your face a lot, right?
No, that's probably most of everyone out there, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, and how did you get into where you're at now?
I don't know how much time we got. Quick highlights here. From Kansas City, born and raised Kansas side. If you're from or know of Kansas City, you know that that's a hot topic. How I got here, I went to school for engineering. I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. Just went and picked up a electronics engineering technology degree from Pittsburgh State. Shout out. Home of our mascot was the Gorillas. Fun fact: they're only college in the nation whose mascot is a gorilla.
Interesting.
Which I think is a lost opportunity for a great mascot because it's just cool looking. So anyway, digress. When I got out, I applied at probably 15, 20 different companies. The one I'm with currently is the only people to call me back, and the rest is history. So I've been with them for going on 12 years. Did some time in engineering. Spent some time on recruiting and training, borderline marketing, and now I'm in the estimating department. So that's the little quick background of me.
What about Out of Controls?
Out of Controls. Now that's probably more of a fun story. So I love movies and pop culture references. So anytime anything would happen, on a job site or when something stupid would happen, right? Like a movie scene or a clip from a TV show that would correlate with the event. Then one day, I sent a buddy from work. I downloaded a meme generator app on my phone, and I sent him one. He's like, "Hey, that's really funny." And I was like, "Really? You think so?" I thought it was kind of stupid, but I got a chuckle out of it. And he's like, "You should post these." And I was like, "I don't know." So, but then I did. The rest is history with that. And then it's kind of been fun, and this might be a question back to you because you've been doing a little bit longer. But what's fun for me now is the evolution of memes, if you will.
Yep.
Because what used to be funny 4 years ago would probably fall flat today, unless it's in an unironic state, in terms of just the format and how you generate the funnies online. So that's been a fun thing to study from a social aspect, for me at least.
I mean, you got a big fan here, Andrew.
I've been following him for a while. Back when he was PLC memes before the Out of Controls.
Yeah, it's another little fun tidbit. When I was trying to come up with an account, because it was the same day. He's like, "You got to post it," and I was like, "I don't even have a name or anything." He's like, "Well, what's out?" So I started looking on my phone, and I was like, "Well, what's out there?" And immediately, I didn't follow you at the time. If we're just being honest here. And
sorry.
so I was on Instagram, and I was searching engineering. Okay, engineering memes, and engineering memes guy, and I clicked, and I was like, scroll up, that's pretty funny too. And I was like, damn, that's a good name. And I was like, wait, I could rip this off. Again, sorry. And so I was like, well, I just need a name to get started, because at this point I had already built up a catalog of 5 or 6 posts. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't. But I had all these posts, and I was like, I just need a name. So I created the account that night as a ripoff of your name. And then I think fast forward, I think it was around the time I had I had a couple thousand followers, maybe 2,000. Which at the time I was super pumped at, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you had reached out from your personal account, and you're like, "Do I know you?" And I was like, I doubt that. I haven't done name drop, didn't face drop. I was like, no, there's no way you know me from Kansas.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until much later when we had reached out several, I think formally, and I had your name, and then I think you sent me another message from there. I was like, oh, oh, this is awkward. And so that was a full circle moment for me. It was kind of funny.
Oh, that's great.
I wasn't a big meme guy, but looking it up, I see it's funny and I see its place in the world. I mean, especially, going through college, it's like a super stressful time, and just the opportunity to like kind of laugh at the world you're in, like step outside of class and exams and projects and things like that, I think is a really cool thing. So, I mean, my hats go off to both of you guys for starting it and continuing it, because I think it really helps people and has a positive effect.
Do you get, what blows me away is I get, like once a week, I'll have some person reach out and be like, hey, one of two things. One, hey, I'm just starting out in this field. I've learned so much from your page. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm the best educational source. And then the other one is like college professors will reach out and be like, I've used your posts in class to teach something. And again, I'm like, I guess maybe on a what not to do level or something. Like, that blows me away.
Yeah.
When I get those, I'm like, I don't know how you're using this. But
Yeah, so Will, you're in California. What brought you out here?
So I am here to attend the Rockwell Automation Fair. It was a couple-day event down at the Anaheim Convention Center where they were rolling out the newest and latest products. And really for Rockwell automation stuff, they have a lot of things on display that you're not going to see kind of anywhere else or any other trade show. Since it is theirs, they kind of roll out the red carpet for their own stuff. So good opportunity to see, honestly, the full portfolio of Rockwell offerings in terms of automation.
Was there anything in particular that stood out?
Yeah, there was a few things. So they rolled out their new L9 processor. As I understand it, so don't come at me, Rockwell. As I understand it, I think they're like the base PLC is going to be still rated safety 2, so there won't be a non-safe model. It'll have dual Ethernet ports with dual IP capability. The largest change for me on it, there's no key switch. The iconic key switch is gone. It'll be a dip switch hidden behind a door. So don't like that from a visual change aspect. And we asked the lady, said, well, how do you, you can key it and run and leave it running. And her response was, well, yeah, but that can be defeated by a screwdriver. I was like, I don't know if that was like the best thing to say, but not wrong, but it is tucked behind a door, so you don't see it, but supposedly it handles twice as many accesses as an L8, and the memory size will be twice as large, but they're not targeting to release it till end of, I believe, next year, so end of 2025, so we'll see. That was a cool thing. And then just seeing all the latest on-machine offerings. We do a lot of work. I do a lot of work in the automotive industry, and everything we do is distributive I/O, on-machine type I/O. So with a lot of I/O blocks, a lot of armor starts, armor flexes, IP67 field mount devices. In their catalog, they had on display, lit up. Good chance to see it, get your hands on it.
Nice.
And see it. They did have a bunch of classes, learning opportunities, and software classes. Admittedly, I didn't attend them, but I had a coworker go to some of the software classes. Got a lot out of it and a lot of good contacts. So
Nice.
from that aspect, it was useful. I just didn't fully utilize that offering.
It's fairly new too, the whole content creation and being a professional and balancing, that almost personality that you're hiding a little bit, right?
1000%.
People that you're not really you're showing a different side of yourself, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw anybody like that, for example, at the Rockwell Fair, any content creators, anybody making like content there, or
Yeah, I saw a handful of people. I didn't reach out to them because, to your point, I stay hidden for the most part. I mean, they had like their own little creator space booth that they were doing what I believe to be live broadcasts, or at least broadcasts. They had it all set up. I'm sure they wouldn't let me in, so I steered clear of it. But it is a trade show, so there's a lot of booths and what have you. So a lot of the companies had their own little camera on a stick, walking around, but not a lot of. It's a weird space to be an influencer, if you want to use that word.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe more I'm on the content creation side than the
Exactly.
influence. I don't know what the hell I'm influencing. So
Yeah.
It was funny because I spoke to a guy earlier who was new, and then you're like, what do people learn from your post? But I told him like to go follow you, and I'm like, if you don't get the meme, Google it until you get it, and you're gonna be a more knowledgeable person at the end of the day.
I mean, that's a great point. And I mean, going back to how like professors would say that they've used your memes in class to, make a point or teach a lesson, that's not surprising to me at all, because laughter is like this universal language that, I don't know, brings people's kind of like barriers down. And so like the information can get soaked in easier, I feel like, if you make it funny. Right. It like sticks in their mind. So I wouldn't have thought that either, but I'm not surprised when I hear it.
Any AI with PLC? Anything that you saw?
I mean, so that's the buzzword. There's two buzzwords. Cybersecurity being the first one. Everyone uses it. I don't think they quite know what it means. Same with AI. Everybody has an AI product, and it might just be me not being sure of what it is. Through the page, I've talked to several different companies that have an AI that will write PLC logic. I've tried to set up conversations with some involving some of my coworkers, because I scratch the surface level, right, in terms of what I know and understand of what a PLC can do and operate. But these guys have a much better understanding. So I was like, man, you gotta, what do you do? Because there's one company out of Denmark, and I was like, what are you doing at 3 a.m.? You got to hop on this call with me. He's like, no. Because like he was talking, and it sounded cool, but like I didn't mentally grasp what it was or how it could be used. He was super passionate about it, as I was half awake at 3 a.m. when we had a phone chat. In terms of that side, that's what I'm more interested about, because I've seen, I've talked to people who claim to do it, but I just don't understand.
It's not there yet, maybe?
It could be. It could be, right? And it could be that the industry I'm in, we live and die by ladder. We refuse to acknowledge anything else. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, why would you, what are you doing to create you can, I suppose, write it in an Excel format and import it. But I'm like, why? It's already ladder logic. It's pretty awesome. You don't need to fix it. It's already really good. So it could be a me issue and my resistance to change. But those were the two big buzzwords. And to the first one being cybersecurity, I don't understand that either. So that could also be my lack of understanding of, because everybody always advertises, hey, we got this new network problem, or new networks, not problem. We got this new network product, and it has cybersecurity. Okay, well, what does that mean? Because there's a lot of different ratings and classifications with that. How does it work? How does it interact with the products that I currently have, and why do I need it? Because most of the stuff I'm dealing with is like an OT level, air-gapped from anything else. Like unless you're there plugging into it directly, I don't think I need cybersecurity in my life. Famous last words, I suppose, but.
I mean, what do you guys think? You guys do?
Yeah, I mean, the AI topic is interesting. It's funny. I mean, I know Andrew writes code. Will, I don't know how much code you get into.
In this day and age, not much.
But I hear these manufacturers talk about integrating AI into their industrial products. Like cameras are like a big one now in our world, like, vision systems that are integrating AI. And for someone who writes code, I'm thinking to myself, is this just a marketing thing? Is it really AI? 1,000%. Or is it just clever programming? Because at the end of the day, it's all code. Is it just a clever PID loop? Because we do that very regularly in our world.
Well, I personally don't like ladder.
That's fair. It's not.
I think you have to have some level of knowledge. Let's say if I'm not a programmer. I mean, I can do some damage, but I'd rather let someone else do it. But if I can write some kind of prompt where here are my inputs, and you're supposed to get this kind of output, trigger this, put a timer here.
That's what makes ladder so beautiful.
Yeah.
Your inputs are on the left-hand side, your outputs are on the right-hand side. If you want to affect your output, put them in front of it.
I can't tell if I'm going up the ladder, down the ladder, side to side on the ladder.
I always say, like, with ladder, it's just easier for mechanics to understand. Like, if I go to a plant and I write something in structured text, they're always going to call me back 100% of the time. Sure, right. But if I put it in ladder, the guy can go, okay, I kind of, get how this works.
I mean, ladder would be the evolution of industrial automation that bridged the gap between relays and computers. So it never really stopped growing past that. And it has, instead of having just straight normally open, normally closed contacts, there's a million instructions you can use with it, timers, counters.
And put a structured text block in your ladder logic.
Yeah, you can intermingle. So there has been a lot of advancements, but in terms of just reading and understanding electrical diagrams and then turning that into a computer program, it's a one-to-one. So it's borderline. Well, no, it is a universal language. I mean, I guess just like structured text, but it's if you have your panel prints in front of you and you can understand what that relay is supposed to do. Then that's, to me, what makes it awesome, because then you can take this otherwise complicated computer program and look at it and be like, oh, that's each rung, right, is just a glorified if-then statement. So back when I used to do a lot of recruiting, I never expected anyone to, A, have experience with ladder, or B, even heard of it. But I'm like, they're like, what programming language you use? I got this and that. I'm like, no, we use ladder. It's kind of super custom. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, do you understand an if-then statement? It's like, yeah. I'm like, perfect, you're overqualified, let's go. But I don't know how you're using AI to get from there to there. But I understand that it could be a me issue with that. Now the vision ones, those ones to me are more, like I can mentally comprehend how you could use AI and vision, at least for the applications that I've seen, that use, you take that picture 1,000 times, you build a database, and you can ballpark and grow it. Like that, to me, I can comprehend. I think that's probably the biggest issue with me and AI, is just comprehending how you use this giant learning database to then apply it to something. So like drive parameters, okay, sure, I could see that. Vision, okay, sure, I could see that. But if you're telling me I can scan in my drawing set or something, it's going to kick out code, that's where I'm like, I don't know. It feels like it might get me close. I guess it would, but again, it's probably a me issue, right?
Yeah. It probably is. I'm just kidding. AI is going to replace us all real quick, No, I see the benefits in some and others, but I do like structured text. I never was taught, hey, ladder logic in college, No one was. Everybody wants to learn Python or whatever they're teaching now, and then you get into this industry and it's ladder logic. So it was new to me for sure.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact, when I say nobody does in college. I took a college class that was PLCs. It was like my last semester, and I fell in love with it. I was like, wait, I can do this. This is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. That's what, then I search out for companies. But before that, I just came from an assembly language class. And it was like the first quiz or test or assignment. I don't remember what it was at this point, but all I remember is it was like, hey, you have a push button. You want to use this push button to fire this relay to turn on a light. And I was like, I don't understand this. So deadline was approaching quickly, which means I hadn't started yet. And so I didn't know how to do it. And that was part of the problem. So whatever this assignment was, I actually wrote in all assembly language, like take the value, store it in register B, recall wrote the whole thing. And I turned it in. My professor's like, yeah, it works, but this is what I asked for. And he failed me. And so I had to redo it. But it was that initial assignment that, like, it kicked my ass, and then also made me like realize the potential of the language and how to use it. So kind of a fun one there, because to your point, I did not get it because it just, I didn't get it out the gate.
I want to ask every single one of you, like, what is your favorite part of, industrial automation?
For me, it's the process. It's the process of getting, like, a set of specs or a sketch on a drawing of like, this is kind of what I think I want this whole thing to do. And then you get to take that and you get to, at least for me and what I do, you get to design the panel, you get to build the panel, and then you get to take that and you get to then write some code and you get to play around with it and find the issues, fix the issues, find some more issues, fix those issues, and then deploy it. And like being able to see it from start to finish and being responsible for everything in between is a lot of fun. Also, and it probably has to do a lot with the fact that, again, we use a lot of distributive I/O, so it's a lot of field-mounted items and not large panels. But it just feels like Legos. It's like, oh, I need 10 more I/O points out in the field. Okay, let me just add this block out there. Oh, there's not enough power. Let me add a power supply. Like it just feels like Legos, so it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
But being able to see that whole process from start to finish is very rewarding. Also, upon some self-reflection, I found out I'm like a borderline adrenaline junkie, but adrenaline by stress. And I don't think you're going to find, probably get torn apart in the comments here, I don't think you're going to find probably a more stressful industry than automotive. It seems to be one of the, of everyone I've talked to, they all seem to agree, albeit they're mostly all in automotive. But it's a very stressful environment, and I think I like it. I don't like it, but I do like it. It's
if you're enjoying it and you're happy, you're most likely enjoying it.
Some of my favorite jobs were some of the worst ones. Just deadlines are tight and like, hey, we all got to work really long to get this going. It's a fun, probably because at the end you do get it going, and then you look back and like, yeah, I did that. So it's probably full circle. But that stress I do enjoy.
I just always like seeing how things were made, and I feel like being a kid and watching shows about how things are made, and then being able to have your hand on it in the factory floor, see how it's done, and then see the final product. You write a few lines of code, and then like, wow, somebody has this product on the shelf, and then you go to like the grocery store, because I've done a lot of food and beverage, and it's like, oh, look at that, like, I fixed the machine that made that today.
I guess for me, it's, when I look at an application or a project, it's like a big puzzle. And I'm a total like puzzle guy, like solving problems. And I think these are some of the most, I don't want to say advanced problems, but the puzzles require different skill sets and different knowledge bases along the way. Like Will was mentioning, you got the software aspect, you got the mechanical aspect, you have the electrical aspect. So, part of the job is, one, calculating how much force you need on a motor. So now you're talking about mechanical aspects and then converting them to electrical specs that you need to deal with. And then, then you're designing the mechanics of what this motor is moving and how it's going to happen. And then you're writing the software for it all. So you're combining these three diverse knowledge bases to bring it all together and solve this puzzle. It's absolutely a roller coaster. I can totally relate to what Will is saying about enjoying stress. I don't know why I enjoy the pain so much, because it's like 95% banging your head on a wall, searching for a sensor or a relay that's out, or is it a code thing? And you're driving yourself crazy until you solve it, and then the remaining 5% is like worth it when you solve it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the process is definitely fun from the beginning too. Even the sales side, I've been finding a lot of fun on that. Putting your ideas on paper, pricing it out, doing the sales, going back and forth with the customer. Even that part is fun to me. And then once we win a project, here we go. We're off to the race. And then combining like all the skills, I think what we do here at Loomis is that we're doing the mechanical, electrical, software. Everybody wears different hats at different times. You get into all those things, and it's a lot of fun without a doubt. I feel lucky to be doing this. Very rewarding once you finish something and you see it moving. And who doesn't like robots, right? They're Even before when I was in college and just learning terminology like integration, right? Integrators versus like manufacturers versus distributors, and like who does what. We started at a distributor, but then there's also integrators like ourselves and then Andrew. So yeah, I guess for people that don't know, like what is an integrator? Like, what's the role of an integrator?
So, in my opinion, because I don't think any of these terms are formally defined, because we are a systems integrator, and so that would be a company that is hired to provide a solution using whatever means to fix the problem, whatever that might be, using automation. So one day it might be getting a tire from one side of the plant to the other. The next day might be getting cans of corn from one side to the other. Or you might be tying in the robot to the conveyor, integrating. It's kind of, I feel like, loosely defined and super open. Distributors, that one's a little bit more strict. So then distributors are going to be the people that provide all the parts, because all the parts and pieces that we use day in, day out, you can't just, for the most part, waltz into a Harbor Freight or a defunct Radio Shack or whatever and go pick them up. You've got to work with an electrical supplier, with the exclusion of maybe Automation Direct, where you can go online, which makes them super convenient, to buy what you need. Otherwise, you have to work with your local electrical supplier, and they have a whole catalog, and they work with many different manufacturers. And if you have a good one, that you might come and say, hey, I'm looking at this part, and they're looking at it and be like, well, what are you using it for? This other one is a little bit cheaper, I can get it quicker, because that's supposed to be their realm of expertise of knowing all the different products, how to use them. And then like an OEM is someone who just builds a machine. So it might be like a shrink wrap machine or a canning machine. They build one thing over and over again, or maybe not just one thing, but a whole different catalog of things. Where, going back to the original question, the system integrator is working with a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, having a lot more puzzles to solve. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Yeah, you gather technologies, put them together to provide a solution, right? You're not necessarily inventing a technology, you're using technologies to solve a problem. Now that you bring up Automation Direct, and like this is a question for all you guys, like what's your opinion on their products, their customer service, and compared to like other big brands, right? Because I hear that some companies don't consider Automation Direct a competitor, but for some reason we buy them a lot too, and we use them, and we're pretty happy with them. So I'm just curious, like what are you guys' opinion on Automation Direct?
Like Automation Direct versus other distributors, and like what's the future of distribution look like? Like, is it changing? Is it staying the same? So that's like what I'm curious about this topic also.
I mean, I love Automation Direct because it's just easy. Like if I get an emergency quote or a line's down and somebody needs something tomorrow, if it's any other brand, I have to call my rep, and then they have to go into their website, because most distributors' websites for looking up what you need are not really that good or efficient. So, but Automation Direct, I don't have to wait for the rep to reach out and then send a PO and then go through the payment, and you have to wait for that person to get into the office. Automation Direct, I can just go and be like, oh, 20 in stock, 2 overnighted, or 2-day free shipping. It's just, you can't beat the convenience sometimes. And I've never had any major issues using them. I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, that like lowly brand, and kind of pass it off. And I'm like, can you even name an issue that like you've had with one? And I don't think most people can.
With my customers and the stuff we do, a lot of the parts and components are hard spec'd, because they have lots of different manufacturing facilities all over the world, and they have, in any given time at like a certain plant, they have 87 of a part. So they don't want to, like 87 power supplies, right? So they don't want to just bring in a random power supply, even though it could be a tenth of the price. They already got the whole infrastructure and backbone to support this part. They don't want that part. So I don't necessarily get a lot of opportunities or options to get off the beaten path of the major brands. But to the intriguing question of the future of distribution, I do think we're starting to see it change a little bit, mostly due to COVID and what that did to supply chains. When Amazon started building warehouses every other block, I think that wiped out a lot of automation components, and then it created an issue that nobody saw coming where, oh yeah, we always have 1,000 terminals in stock. Well, Amazon just ordered 2,000, and they're going to order another 2,000. Well, what do we do now? I don't know. And then lead times got really crazy there for a while from everyone for every part. And then forecasters from the major brands looked in and said, whoa, there's a huge surge in automation. So they started tweaking their processes in place. And then as a byproduct, all the major brands I work with, I now have direct portal access to their inventory, and I can see what's in stock and depending on who it is, I can see not only what's in stock, but like where it's in stock. So it might be local to me in Kansas City, and I can see they have 10, or I can see that, well, there's actually 10 in Kentucky. So I can get them. I can pick them up when they open, but I can get them relatively quickly, supposedly, allegedly. There's still some growing pains with the online inventory systems, right? Because that's a huge thing to track. But I think you're starting to see a lot more visibility or
transparency. I mean,
transparency, that's the word I was looking for, in terms of what's out there, because, and you guys probably know this, right? When something goes down, it's usually not a matter of like how much, it's how soon. Manufacturing lines, when they go down, it costs a lot of money. A lot of money. Oil and gas can be, if you think about like major pipelines supplying cities of natural gas, if a valve goes bad, what's the impact? It's not like, then it doesn't become the question of like, I only want this valve or this controller, right? It's, I need a valve or a controller. How quickly can you get here? And that's like probably the more intriguing part of the whole thing, because now even the people I'm used to dealing with who said, no, you can never use these brands, it kind of opened up the conversation of like, well, maybe, can you get it here? Like they're willing to entertain the option, and I think people are taking off the blinders and looking at cost savings, time savings, and analyzing it across the board. So I think there's going to be a little bit of change with that, just due to visibility and transparency. Transparency and seeing that just across the board now.
now can I ask, Will? I mean, so you guys are, sort of categorized like as an integrator, but are you also a distributor? Like, do you work directly with manufacturers, or do you always go through a distributor? In most cases.
In most cases, we do. There are a few high volume products, and I don't know the background story of the when and where or like who, but I know there's a couple vendors that we buy directly from and bypass distributors, and I don't know the delineation of it, and it, in terms of us, doesn't really affect the overall process that much, or even I feel like pricing at times. But it's on a brand by brand base.
Gotcha. And I asked because when we worked for a distributor, sort of talking about the future of distributors, I think our upper management sort of saw like writing on the wall where just being a basic component distributor and not getting super involved in the integration side was gonna like have us fall behind the times. And so, we basically tried to add a panel shop as like a value add arm to our distributorship, and we really didn't get into more than that. I know I took it upon myself a few times to go do some software at customer sites, but I definitely got my wrist slapped a couple of times for doing it.
a lot of assumed liability there.
Some of them are easy though. Come on.
Not here to say no.
You know?
I'm just big picture,
don't
right?
have-
You touch it, you own it.
Yeah.
That's at least how it works.
Yeah. So I just, I think traditional distributorships that are just commodity, selling commodity items and adding no value, I think we're starting to see those go away, and we're going to continue to. They're out there. I'm sure they're quoting jobs. They have to quote jobs at what, 15, 20% to win the business, margin, 15, 20% margin. And I think I see manufacturers also trying to partner with integrators more, where in the past they would go through distributors always. And back 20 years ago, like, distributors would stock all the items locally, so when someone needed it, it was on their shelf. But now that's not the business model. People don't want to stock stuff anymore. So you go through a distributor, but the distributor is just placing a PO with the manufacturer to get it off of their shelf, direct ship it to you. They're basically just doing paperwork in between and taking a cut of everyone's margin. So if you're not adding value, I kind of see those type of distributors going away.
Well, I think to several points there, it's probably just the evolution of society and the introduction of the internet to how we do things. Like this, I remember as a child, so unrelated to what I do now, growing up, my dad sold radio automation. Because at that time, radio was all done through what was called carts. So all songs were on carts, and there had to be a DJ, right, all the time. Well, his company found a way to have some software where you could store songs on a computer. It was mind-blowing. But on a bigger scale, so like your nationally syndicated shows, they would send out tones, and then it could read the tone and then switch over to local commercials, and actually automated that process. So you didn't need a board op at night to play your late night conspiracy shows. So he sold that, and I remember going with him all over the country to trade shows, and they were a big deal, because if you wanted to go see something, you'd have to go to the annual show and see what was new. You don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't need some guy with a catalog being like, I'm the only guy in town that has this part. Really? I just found 6. So I think it's an evolution of society that might be driving some of that. And then, so we do have I deal with a couple distributors that kind of do what you say. They kind of pride themselves on value added distribution. So they don't care about terminals and power supplies and relays. They want to do things with smarts to help you. That's their added benefit, right? They want to help you set up drive parameters. They want to help you set up safety devices and map light screens and work with you on some of the smarter technologies. They don't care about the low hanging fruit. They're like, get it where you want. I don't. We have it, sure, because in order to sell this, we had to sell that. So if you want to buy it from us, great. If you don't, you're not going to hurt our feelings. But they focus on kind of the smarter products, and which I thought was interesting. But so I have seen that. But in terms of where things are going, I think it's just a societal shift, or at least in my opinion.
One thing I'm noticing too is how we generate leads now as well, is through people seeing either a YouTube video that they saw, obviously on our website, a machine that we build. It's so random now how you can generate leads. And
How often do you see those?
pretty often. Like Instagram leads, or like
Any type of leads from any of your associated social media
yeah, well,
because you got a
it's-
couple. I mean, you got a couple followers.
Yeah.
Does it generate a lot?
There's some interest, but I feel like they're not the type of business that we're aiming for. Some of them are real, like real
Sure.
opportunities. Not as often compared to like the website,
Right.
right? So our website generates pretty decent leads, and it's based off a video they saw on the website. I think showing people that what you're doing is important nowadays, because if they don't see it, they don't believe it. I mean, we
Right.
literally had the customer that came earlier, right? He gave us a business because he found us on Google. We have a ton of videos to show what we're doing. And he was saying how other companies don't post anything online no more. So who do you believe right here, right? So
Right.
I think that's another shift too on lead generation, how you do business. If you're a value add company, I know everybody gets very like, oh, this panel is proprietary. It's like, dude, it's just a panel with BFDs. Like, I'm not impressed, you know? So, oh, it's for this customer. It's like, dude, they all look the same.
They
You know,
all
I can't
do.
tell. Oh, you're running a pump. Great, you know? So I think there's all that, you know, people are very, very careful with what they show, but to me, it's like, it's just a box with terminal blocks and BFDs, you know? I don't know what your opinion is.
Nah,
It's not like you're showing a machine, right? A proprietary machine showing a process, but if you're showing a box,
Yeah, and I want to ask Andrew how he gets his leads, because I know I've talked about it with him before, and I mean I'll let him answer, but you know our industry isn't huge. I'll say, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with me, especially when I started, really like word of mouth. My website is like very basic. I didn't put any effort into like search engine optimization or anything like that. It was just to throw it up and say that I had a website, but it was very much like uh, reaching out to people I knew in the industry, people I'd worked for, friends, and just like spreading the word like, hey, I'm doing this, I need leads. And then eventually they refer you, and then, you know, you kind of expand and network out. And then is more recently, I've got um, more on my LinkedIn side of things. And, you know, ironically, the company pages I noticed don't really do that well on LinkedIn, but your personal page does a lot better. So if I post stuff of jobs I'm doing, or like technical activities I'm doing, or just something that people can relate to in the industry, it gets a lot of traffic. And I have got leads from that. And I think, you know, most people who are active on LinkedIn kind of agree that, you know, it kind of builds. You know, somebody's like, hey, do you know this guy? Or is he just some random guy? And they're like, no, I see him posting stuff. Like, he's got, you know, he's a cool guy. He's obviously out there doing stuff.
how did we find each other?
I think I found Loomis Automation on Instagram, and then I reached out to you.
Oh yeah, and then I think you might have seen some posts where we were talking and you were saying you were going on your own and yeah. Oh yeah, I'm kind of remembering now. Nice.
it's funny you say that because I speak to it from like my social media endeavors. When I first started, again, I didn't know what I was doing, but I guess it really hasn't changed. I felt like mentally, and I could have been wrong, right? But I was like, if I'm going to post this stuff, no one's going to believe me unless I have followers. So what I would do is I would go to some of the big players in the game. So I'd go to like Rockwell's page, and I would see, I'd grab their latest post, and I saw it got 20 likes. So I would go and I'd follow those 20 people,
Yep.
hoping that they might see my content. And I did that until I got up to about, it's like maybe 1,000 followers. And then, kind of like what you were saying, it seemed like that was then the stepping stone for then people to click on the account and be like, oh, this guy has followers. They should probably see what's going on. And then it just seemed like exponential growth over time.
I can't tell you how many times I was probably in a plant, like in a job struggling, and like just went to check my phone, like saw a notification, like saw your page last, and like showed the guy next to me and said, hey, you need to follow this guy, like, you know, as we're like in the trenches, you know.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. So I relate to what you're saying on a very personal level because I didn't feel like I had much. Because I would post something, and to me, I'd be like, man, this is hilarious. It has like 2 likes. What's going on? And I could see that with the metrics at the time, I could see I got some profile hits. I'm like, what? It's because I had 13 followers. You know, 2 of them were, 3 of them, 4 of them were family members. Like, so it doesn't matter, I guess, what you're doing. You have to have some type of validity going on with it.
Yep.
In order for it to take off. So, whether it's a company using that as projected growth, or people posting stupid memes online.
What does your boss think about what you're posting?
Oh man,
He's out here. He's off to the side. We got to make sure we don't say anything
no
that might get you in trouble.
comment. No, I think for the most part it's well received around where I work. There is, for the most part, a good air gap separation of what I post and how I go
Yeah.
about the 9 to 5. But it does, bring up some interesting conversations because I will post some less than savory ideas from a corporate point of view. But I don't broadcast those ones.
Have you done like more of a reveal before this?
Twice. Once was here
Yep.
with you guys. Post the PEC West Expo. The other time was I had this brilliant idea that I would do product reviews. I would create my own digital trade show. Because in the shelves where I work, we got 1 million components lying around,
Yep.
ready to go. So I thought, if I take this and I speak on behalf of these companies, maybe I could work with them. So I grabbed a sensor, started talking about it, filmed it, made a cool video, posted it, fell flat. Reached out to the company, they didn't give a shit, and I was like, all right, cool, whatever. That's how we're gonna play.
Yeah.
Humbling, but that's so this will be number 3.
I mean, here's a question related to that. Is there a product out there that has piqued your interest recently, or like a manufacturer that you really want to work with that, like, let's say they're watching this video and you say, hey, XYZ company, if you could send me this thing, I'd do a product review or a product reveal for it. Is there anyone out there on your mind that you've been wanting to show off?
I mean, there's probably a couple that I think would be really cool to work with. So what I found when doing that, this is a different setting because there's people to talk to. I found myself really camera shy when it was just me trying to stare into the camera and talk. I'd forget my lines, I'd stumble. If you go back and watch that clip, you can probably see me visibly shaking because it was something that I thought I wanted to do. I didn't want to. That being said, there are a lot of companies that I wish I could just advocate on behalf of. Like there's this really cool website, or I guess online distributor called C3 Controls.
Yep. We use them. We bought a lot of stuff from them since you told us.
They have all their stuff UL listed / recognized. It's super affordable. I don't want to call them cheap because it's good product. And you can build your parts online, and it tells you right there what your price is. It does make me laugh because it doesn't matter who you are. It says like, here's the MSRP, here's the price you're getting, and it's half the price. Like, okay, thank you. But it's super affordable, and you can get stuff within a day or two.
Made in the U.S., right?
I think they're in like Illinois or
Yeah.
Iowa or somewhere,
Yeah.
Ohio, that general region. So companies like that, like there's some hidden gems out there that nobody knows about.
So there goes C3. Will wants to review your product. What do we got to do to make it happen?
Or when I'm, when I'm mindlessly on social media, because I do that a lot, and I see companies who have paid for targeted ads. I tried that once. Targeted ads, at least through Meta. I haven't tried one through TikTok because the Meta experience was total trash. You can choose you could choose like 5 parameters. How much you want to spend a day, how many days you want to spend it, what is your age target demographic, what is your gender target demographic, I believe, and then like you can choose like 5 categories. And I don't even think engineering is one of them. It's like you're casting a wide net with a lot of money. And it's like, if you got something to say, find people who are talking to who you want to talk to. You can utilize your money better.
Yeah.
You're wasting a lot of, because there's some guy scrolling through his phone who might have clicked on a video once because his buddy sent it, and so it might hit the algorithm, but he's not interested, right? Like there's platforms and people in place within the industry that could help you out. Automation Direct.
Automation Direct.
Automation Direct. Okay, there we go.
What do you think about new platforms that are becoming brand agnostic, like let's say Codesys, or Codesys, however you say it. I think Automation Direct has one. Uh, Wago, Bosch, Weidmuller, they're all like, you're not limited to one brand, but you're in the same IDE.
That is interesting to me. I love the concept. It kind of goes back to the world in which I operate most of the time is hard spec, and it's either going to be Allen Bradley or Siemens. So I rarely will have the opportunity to get in that realm, but I like the concept. I think even like Arduino makes a formal PLC using Codis, or again, how do you say it? Everybody has something, it seems like, on that platform that can talk. So I think that's wonderful because how many times do you go to a facility and they got, I got the machine running this processor and I got this HMI and I got this robot and I need you to get them all to talk. It's like, oh, okay. Okay. Wish you would have asked this question before you bought all this stuff. So with that kind of getting rolled out, hopefully down the road, things like that can get improved so then you don't need to have all these different protocol conversions. That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
A lot of people advertise that they, have the universal protocol product, but it's cumbersome and not the greatest. I guess most of the time they do work, just maybe not as advertised. That might be a gripe to the marketing department. Same people who overuse the word AI. So, that's probably just a complaint with them.
And what do you think? Have you seen? I feel like, because we were talking about distributors, the market's been rapidly kind of changing. And even though you're hard spec, it seems like a lot of brands that were once really high end or pricey it seems like they're really trying to compete with the lower guys, and it's kind of becoming interesting.
Yeah, so I think it is an interesting time for the industry because you had, and I'll speak to Allen Bradley, right? Because that's who I'm the most familiar with. You had the PLC 5 that was so dominant for such a long time. Still go to facilities that run them, and then all of a sudden, then you had the Slick, and it was pretty hot and cool for a moment. Then you had Control Logics, then Guard Logics, then the L5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're on to 9, all in a very short time span as a byproduct of technological advancements. And in the meantime, you had all these other smaller companies kind of figure out their own way to do something. So I think it's a byproduct of, how quickly someone can roll out that next technology, how quickly they can get it in front of customers, and then how quickly that people like us can use it, find it, and adapt it to our needs. And that's probably driving a lot of that landscape.
Any other thoughts, guys? Yeah, I guess we could just leave it with Whale. Any last words for people that follow you, whoever's going to be watching this?
Oh, man. It's number one, appreciate the follow. Couldn't do it without you. I'm like the PBS of channels because this is a very unique space, right? There's not a lot, and by not a lot, I don't think there's anyone else doing exactly what I do. It's kind of cool to post my dumb thoughts online, and then people like it and share it, favorite it, send me messages about it. Love that. So it's very cool. So huge shout out to y'all. Y'all make it possible. And I guess that's probably it. Just a big thank you.
Sounds good.
And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you
It's been a lot
all
of
you
fun.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me here.
It's always fun. And, we don't do it as often, but whenever we do, I think it's cool conversations. And hopefully we can keep doing them whenever you guys come back.
Can even do it
Yeah,
remote. We'll do a
maybe.
product reveal, and then we can comment on it from California while you're doing it out in Kansas City.
C3 controls. yeah.
Yeah.
The Automation Direct podcast, I'm just saying.
Yep.
If you guys are listening.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Later.